Hello and welcome back to another episode of Chat Football. I'm your host, as always, Jerry Tavares. I'm accompanied by a very special guest, Eli Lesser, on today's Friday's Fan of the Week. Eli, how you doing, bro? It's nice to have you on the pod.
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's Friday. It's the weekend. I'm ready for Coachella this weekend too. There's a lot of stuff,
You'll be
a lot
there.
of, lot of stuff, a lot of fun stuff going on. Yeah. Um, so it's just gonna be like a little fan interview. Just wanted to get your insights on your life, the world of football around you, and yeah, hopefully we can educate some listeners on the world today. Make sure to follow Eli at Eli Lesser TV right there, and follow us at Charla Football. So Eli, let me know, how long have you been involved in the world of football? I know you've been creating content for quite some time now. You did have This Week in MLS, and now you're Eli Lesser TV. I just wanted to know how long you've been involved and why the sudden change from This Week in MLS to Eli Lesser TV.
Yeah, so I started making content in the soccer sphere in 2015. So I was actually I was heading into my freshman year of high school
Oh
at
wow.
that time. And at that time, there was not a single other person covering MLS on Instagram, because that's my favorite platform. And that was my favorite platform, aside from the MLS page.
Mhm.
And I started out just like posting, news graphics. I don't know if you know the Instagram account All Sports News, but it
Mhm.
was like it has those white borders and then a picture in the middle, and I put the headline text on the top and then like a paragraph on the bottom white border.
Yeah.
And that's just how I started things out, and I would just post everything MLS news. And then I did a lot of that up until around 2020 when the pandemic hit. I was in my freshman year of college, and I was a broadcasting major, and I wanted to be doing things that help me get better on camera. And at the time I wasn't making any videos, and I was like, I hate making graphics, but I should get into making videos, and that will help me become better on camera. And that's how, I got into this whole mess of making all these videos and everything now. So yeah, so I had like kind of two different big eras all within the name This Week in MLS. But as you noted, I did make the change at the start of this year. I
Mhm.
think it was a needed rebrand. I think tying myself down just to MLS was not the best thing for me. I also wasn't able to own my username This Week in MLS if I wanted to, LLC it or something.
Why was that?
Just because I have MLS in the name, I can't own anything that has MLS in the name.
Mhm.
And also for me, it was, I was a little frustrated that, I wasn't necessarily being used by MLS ever.
Mhm.
And, I shouldn't expect anything, but I just felt like, why am I naming myself after, somewhat a league or something that doesn't even pay me?
Yeah.
I'm not making any money from MLS. So I think that separation was needed. Also, just because the username is gone, that doesn't necessarily mean This Week in MLS is dead yet.
Mhm.
And MLS is still the league I cover the most, but now I'm able to cover whatever really I want.
Yeah.
It's kind of just now, it used to be just me and MLS, and now it's just like my perspective and what I'm interested in the world of soccer football in general, which is still mainly MLS, but
Mhm.
I like more things other than just MLS for sure.
Yeah. I love that you've been doing that because, like I said, I mean, like, and a lot of people know that. I mean, since the World Cup is coming up in 2 years, we
Mhm.
have to grow soccer somehow. And even if we're not getting paid for it, like, I mean, we do it because we love it. It's not because we're looking for that pay. It would be nice if we can, obviously, but it'll come. The money will come, but we want to grow the sport that we truly love.
Definitely. And yeah, the goal in life is to, do what do what makes you happy and what you're most passionate about, and also make a lot of money doing it.
Hmm.
I'm in the great position where I can do what I do, what I'm most passionate about. And now I just, want to get to that level where I could have both of those things. And
Definitely.
that wouldn't change anything of how I do things. It's just, it'd be nice.
Yeah, of course. Now, speaking about like opportunities and stuff like that, what other opportunities has it opened up for you in like football specifically? I know you are an ambassador for Body Armor and you are an owner for OC Soccer Club. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so with Body Armor, the great thing is they actually really liked me because I wasn't so tied down to MLS in terms of, being paid by them and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
Body Armor viewed me as the voice of MLS fans, as the fan specifically, which I think
Mhm.
is important to note. And they wanted that, or they like that in me, and they reached out because when you're a partner of MLS, like they are, they have certain kind of boxes they need to tick in terms of living up to their partnership on the content side.
Mhm.
And one thing they wanted to do with their content budget is, put it on, I guess, an influencer or a content creator making MLS content. And they chose me, which I'm so grateful for. Body Armor is definitely, there's a lot of sponsors out there that are very controlling in how you go about things and how you promote their product. And the best thing about Body Armor is that they give me free reins for whatever I want to do, as long as, I mentioned Body Armor with it. So,
Mhm. Oh, that's fun.
super blessed and thankful for them. And like, it's been a dream partnership for me, being able to go around the US to different MLS matches. That is because of them. It's not, because of me per se.
Mhm.
So I'm like, they're the best. And also with Body Armor, and this isn't just me saying this because I'm an ambassador, but it's like genuinely a good drink, which,
Yeah, yeah, everybody's tried
like,
Body Armor.
yeah, I've tried Prime and I think it's disgusting. It's super artificial. Where Body Armor, you see flavors on the bottle, and sorry, I actually have a bottle right here. You see what fruits are in the drink, and you could actually taste those fruits. And I
Mhm.
think that's really cool. It's not like a powdery, sugary drink. It's like, yeah, it's super sweet, but it's, it has those fruits in it. But about speaking of fruits, Orange County, I guess that's my segue. Orange County, what happened is they were opening up ownership to fans, and they wanted to reach out to the fan ownership thing is something very similar to what they do in Germany,
Mhm.
where clubs have to be owned 51% by the fans, and then the 49% is the investors. That's where you see the big money. But what happened is Orange County wanted to reach out to a bunch of people, celebrities from Orange County, or just soccer people in SoCal to become owners of the club and get a little more than just the fan ownership out of it. And they reached out to me, and that was super cool, because honestly, the coolest thing I could ever do is say that I own a soccer club.
Yeah, of
Like, that's like,
course.
just being able to say that to people is super dope. Goes great on the Tinder profile. But it's cool that I'm actually not on Tinder, but it's a cool thing to say and be a part of. And it's part of my mission of just growing the sport in the US. And now I get to do it at a higher level than
Mhm.
just being a content creator.
That's cool, bro. Yeah, no, I love that, especially because not a lot of people, I feel like, are really paying attention to the second division in MLS, but they really should. And I love that you're one of those people that are driving um, that support for it. Now, mentioning OC Soccer Club, that's one of the teams that you support. But growing up, what team did you really support?
Yeah, so I know you know where I'm going with this, but the club that got me started in the sport as a whole, in the league, I wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for, me becoming an LA Galaxy fan
Hmm.
when I was younger. And that was, where a lot of soccer fans, football fans, they start with maybe watching a World Cup match, or watching, El Clasico, seeing, Messi, Ronaldo back in the day. For me, my first exposure to soccer was the LA Galaxy. That's where it started. So that's, the club I am, while I am an owner of Orange County SC, the club I am still most passionate about is the LA Galaxy, because that's where my fandom for everything I do comes from.
How did that start? Did you like go to the game when you were younger? Your family took you?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing for everyone, just in general, who ends up getting into MLS. I feel like all it takes is actually going to one match,
Hmm.
and especially as someone who's a huge fan of other sports, the soccer football atmosphere is just so much different. And I was just absolutely blown away by seeing a supporter section for the first time, growing up, like mainly going to baseball and basketball games,
Hmm.
seeing a full supporter section doing chants, jumping around. That was like the craziest experience of my life, and it was a great match. And it's I've gone to see a lot of big Galaxy moments. I've also seen a lot of terrible ones, because they've pretty much gone downhill since I started becoming a fan. I don't want them to blame it on me. But that's kind of what drove that, and that's what got me wanting to cover MLS as a whole, not just, I never wanted to be like one club,
Yeah.
make content about one club. I just wanted to grow the whole league, and now the whole sport under Eli Lesser TV in America.
Now, speaking about moments, was there one moment for your support for LA Galaxy that like really stood out to you and solidified like that love for LA Galaxy?
I mean, definitely, yeah. 2014 MLS Cup
Uh,
was amazing. Robbie Keane with the winner. I mean, Robbie Keane to me is still my Galaxy goat. Yes, the Galaxy have had, the Zlatans, the Beckhams, the Donovans, but to me, no one will ever match, my love for Robbie Keane at the time. And that was just a crazy match being there against a really great team, especially because actually, although Robbie Keane's my favorite Galaxy player, the other team at the time had my favorite MLS player and my favorite soccer player of all time, which is a very awkward thing where it was like my favorite team versus my favorite player. But
Mhm.
obviously I took my team over the player, but it was just a great experience and really cemented it for me. And that's kind of when I started the next year making, This Week in MLS a thing.
Oh wow, that's cool. Now, when it comes to the games, I know a lot of players. I mean, a lot of people and athletes. They have like their little pregame rituals. Like some people put like their left sock on the right foot, or the right sock on the left foot, or you know, what do you have any pregame rituals like before watching an LA Galaxy match? Do you do anything that you have to like do before?
So one thing I will say, not necessarily before, but I'm very superstitious.
Mhm.
And for me, if the game is going very well, if I'm sitting a certain way in a certain position, I will not move an inch. I will stay in that position the entire time, the entire half at least. I won't.
Mhm.
I'm not a sicko and sit through the 15-minute halftime like that. But that's something I definitely do. That's when I'm home on the couch watching the
Mhm.
match. When I'm there, I mean, for me, I do. I have a great community of Galaxy friends, and we go to the supporter tailgate, and I bring them body armors, and we drink a little bit, and we have a great time. That's kind of the tradition where we kind of have fun up until the match kicks off, and then we go crazy in the supporter section. But I don't really have any game day rituals aside from that, but it's definitely match day getting body armors ready for my friends. I usually freeze them
Mhm. Oh, they're like
because
little slushies, pretty much.
yeah, I freeze it like slushies, but also because I live like maybe 45 minutes to an hour away from Dignity Health Sports Park.
Huh.
So on a summer day, I'll freeze the body armors ahead of time. So by the time we get there, because they'll be melting in the car, they'll still be like ice cold. Because I don't bring a cooler.
Huh.
I just freeze them like that. But it's a big brain strat that I came up with, and it works. Sometimes they are slushies, which makes them great as well. But that's a big thing, and we just have a great time at the tailgates. But
That's cool. I gotta start doing that. The whole like sitting in one spot if my team is winning. I've got to start doing that honestly. Because something I would do a lot was I wouldn't wear my team's jersey. So like
mm,
typically when I do put on their jerseys, they would be losing. My team is Barcelona. Not a lot of
yeah,
people know that, but
that's
so
cool.
if they're winning, I would, or if they're losing, I would take off the jersey. If they're winning, keep the jersey on. Pretty much.
Oh, one thing I will add, and this isn't necessarily a match day ritual, but a curse that I have, which is why I don't do it anymore. And this is for basketball and soccer.
Uh-huh.
Anytime I buy a player's jersey, they either get injured or get traded. So I don't do names on my soccer kits anymore unless it's my name. And I don't buy any more I don't buy basketball jerseys anymore because it's a curse. So that's just yeah, it's not for me, but I just can't do it. I don't want to curse these players
Yeah,
and
just stick to your last name to the back.
yeah, and because I buy their jersey, that means I like them and they're probably my favorite player. So cursing my favorite player is not the best idea. So I don't I don't have names on the back of my kits anymore. Unless, it's my name, which is always fun if that's an opportunity. But
Mm.
yeah, I can't do it. I'll curse myself, but I don't want to curse these players.
Now, when it comes to the games, when you're there, I know the LA Galaxy have been doing pretty well. I mean, besides what happened at the weekend with El Trafico, explain to me some of the emotions that you go through, like before, during, and after the match. I mean, you can talk about what happened at the weekend, how you felt during the weekend, or just in general.
In general, for me, I also go into matches when I'm in the supporter section. When I'm not filming, it's different when I'm filming and when I'm not filming.
Mhm.
Because when I'm not filming, I'm having a great time, if you know what I mean. And every emotion is intensified, whether it's good or bad. I swear a lot when I'm in that mode.
Yeah.
But then, when I am filming, I try to keep it level because obviously I can't like shake the camera or anything.
Mhm.
And for the vlog, I think that you just watched that I posted was not nearly as bad as I usually get,
Mhm.
despite it being the most intense environment. I was just so focused on getting the moments, and sometimes that happens. But I mean, there were certain calls that you could probably think of in that match that definitely got me going. But also sometimes when you're at the matches and also when you're filming things, you don't realize what you don't fully grasp at what's happening in that moment.
Hmm.
Another example, which like it's a cool story to talk about now, but I'm also pretty bummed about it, is my first Galaxy vlog I did at the season was, or this season was Galaxy versus Miami.
Hmm.
And Messi scored the equalizer in stoppage time right in front of us, and I got the video on camera, which was great. However, I didn't even realize it was Messi that scored. It happened so fast that I never got that moment of feeling like, oh my God, Messi just scored on us.
Hmm. In
Because I
front
was
of
so
you.
like, no, like I had the video perfectly, which was great, but I was so focused on the video that like I couldn't even tell that it was Messi
Yeah.
at the time because
Mhm.
he just like slid in very quickly. It wasn't
Mhm.
like he had the ball. And you miss those moments sometimes, and I was bummed, but then I got it for the content, whatever, and it's like it's a story to tell, being like, oh, like I was so busy filming that I didn't even think about it. But yeah, those, I feel that kind of the typical fan emotions. And I will say that when I'm not filming, I'm thankful that I'm not filming when I'm doing that,
Mhm.
and I'm thankful that I'm not being filmed. Because I think maybe there's versions of me that I don't need people to see, except for the homies. So, that's for sure.
That's cool. Have you ever been to? I mean, actually, I'm pretty sure you've been to Dignity Health Sports Park plenty of times,
Mhm.
even before when it was StubHub Center. Can you describe to someone that's never been to an LA Galaxy match, like the kind of environment that it's like that it brings?
Yeah, and I'll also compare it to an LAFC environment, and I'm not going to say one is better than the other. What I'm going to say is, when you enter an LAFC match at BMO Stadium, and I feel like they like it like this, is you feel like you're entering into a war, or you're entering into like a battle.
Hmm.
But for me, and when I pull up to Dignity Health Sports Park, it feels like I'm entering a family gathering. And one would say, "Oh, that's not real football." One would say, "Oh, that's so nice and vibey." I just feel like when you go into an LAFC match, it's very intense and like we're gonna beat you, and then which is a great thing if that's your vibe. And then when you go to the Galaxy in the tailgate area, it's like a nice family get together. Then we go inside and we cheer and we're happy, and then we get beat 4-0 and we're still happy. Um, but so I don't know, and maybe it's just because I am a Galaxy fan and I grew up that way. It's like I go to the digs, I'm like, man, I'm home.
Hmm.
It is a battleground still because all football is a battleground, but that's kind of the difference I feel like, because I go to a lot of LAFC matches, not to root for LAFC, to make that clear. I just go because it's double the MLS I could watch in this city, which
Hmm.
I'm glad LAFC is here because I get to do that. Get to go to double the amount of matches, and see double the amount of teams I would have seen. But yeah, those are kind of the different vibes that I get from those.
So it all really depends on the vibe that you're really looking for.
Mhm.
So that's cool. Now, when it comes to the LA Galaxy, how
Mhm.
does how do you feel like your team differs to other teams in MLS regarding its culture and history?
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy, and even just in my history as a content creator, there's been 10 new teams entering MLS since I've started.
Hmm.
And that's crazy. It's like I've seen all these clubs start in my time. And with the Galaxy, it's even though the league is so young, they still felt like the old team, the historic team when I started making content. And I
Definitely.
think that's a unique thing for MLS. There is the one side of things where it's like, hey, we're this new thing starting to be a part of the beginning. But then there's also the other side of things where it's like, we're the team of history and we're the team that's been here for so long, and we have traditions that are already multiple generations deep,
Hmm.
which I think is a very special thing. So you do feel that, and despite the Galaxy not being the most successful team on the field over the last few years, you still feel the success of the club, and you still see the name recognition that it gets globally, which I think is pretty phenomenal. For MLS, and I think I don't want to sound too up my ass here, but I think a lot of teams should acknowledge that they probably wouldn't exist if it weren't for the Galaxy kind of blowing up when they did.
Yes.
MLS probably wouldn't even still be a thing if Beckham didn't come to the Galaxy and Galaxy didn't become this globally recognized brand at first. So it's cool to say that you support that club,
Mhm.
and it's not a bandwagon thing for me. I'm not like, I didn't choose to just support the best club. It just naturally fell into my lap that they were my local team at the time.
Mhm.
And it's been great. And I actually think, LAFC coming in the league is a great thing for the Galaxy, because it really applies the pressure that was much needed on them at that time, and still is on them. And I think, it's created probably the best rivalry in American soccer. I wouldn't say North American soccer, because I think there's some Liga MX ones that are probably, still better.
Mhm.
But I got clowned on yesterday when I called El Tráfico the biggest rivalry in MLS, from like the Seattle and Portland fans and all that. But nothing beats the intensity of those, and
Yeah, I agree.
the hate, the hatred between the two fan bases and stuff. All the people on Twitter that aren't Galaxy and LAFC supporters are like, I could tell it was El Tráfico this week because all this Galaxy LAFC trash talk is popping up on my timeline. Like no other rivalry in MLS gets that intense.
I agree. I mean, I like you said, I wouldn't rival it with like Liga MX, other like rivalries there, but it's I think it's definitely up there, and I think throughout the years will probably grow to
Yeah.
that intensity.
And as big as it is, I am ashamed to say that living in LA, I still think the biggest rivalry in LA is Chivas versus Club America. I think, I know more people that care about that than they care about El Tráfico, but that just shows you just how, historic and great those rivalries are. And, it just takes time for a rivalry like El Tráfico to get there. But I think the way that it gets promoted, the way it draws attention from neutrals as well, in terms of MLS fans, it's
Mhm.
great. And I just don't think, other rivalries get that intense in MLS. I think Portland Seattle's the best, the next best. They have the longer history, but
Mhm.
in terms of just like absolute hatred, and it also helps that Galaxy LAFC are the same city. I know LAFC fans want to say Carson's not LA, whatever. Same city. It's same geographic location. So it's cool.
Now, going towards rivalries, you mentioned Liga MX. I have to bring this up. Obviously, we've been seeing what's going on with the CONCACAF Champions League. When it comes to MLS and Liga MX, what do you feel MLS needs to do to be more competitive? Now, we can agree that it's definitely grown substantially like throughout the last like 10, 15, 20 years, but I feel like there's just a little bit of something missing. What do you feel, in your opinion, they need?
Yeah, I mean, the one criticism that, MLS coaches have had, and I know this is a big Steve Cherundolo thing, is, MLS teams need more depth, and they need the ability to have more depth. And I agree with that to an extent. I disagree when you're complaining about having Chiellini and Gareth Bale on your bench, and you're complaining about that. But I do agree that, when you look at Miami's bench the other night against Monterrey, and
Mhm.
there's these kids that, like, even as an MLS expert, I had no idea who they were. That says something when Tata Martino's too scared to put in subs, you know,
Mhm.
and there was all this complaining, especially with Don Garber, about roster congestion, or not roster congestion, schedule congestion. And I think, personally, because I actually like the Leagues Cup, I know that's a hot take. I think if you want to be able to have the Leagues Cup, not withdraw from the US Open Cup, just allow teams to have larger rosters and to spend more on depth and have different measures like that. That's what I think is the most important thing for MLS. I don't think it needs to be that drastic of a change
Mhm.
either. I just think there needs to be, make the roster size bigger, and with that, make the cap bigger along with that. Like, just have that be a, I'm blanking on the right word right now, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
as it goes up, the other one goes up with it.
Mhm.
But that's kind of how I view it, and just, allow for a couple more roster spots to where you don't have to force, MLS Next Pro guys into a starting 11 in a CONCACAF Champions Cup match in March. That's
Mhm.
not where you want to be. But that's kind of my way to address it. And because I don't think MLS starting 11s are that much worse than Liga MX, I do think depth is where MLS falls flat compared to Liga MX.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Especially like you already mentioned, Tata Martino was so scared to bring on like any subs. I think he probably did. He even make any in that game?
I think he might have made a couple. I kind of, not gonna lie, I shut it off after a certain point because I just didn't want to see it. I even missed the goal that Miami scored because I was just like, I don't want to watch this. This is embarrassing. But yeah, that's kind of where I think MLS needs to go. I don't, a lot of people really want these like drastic changes, and those would be great. But I try to think a little more realistically. Um, I'm not going to be one of those people. It's like, abolish all salary rules, make pro rel immediately. Like that's just not going to happen. You have to accept that fact. And I like that MLS is quote unquote a balanced league. Just allow for balance with the leagues that you're trying to say that you're better than and trying to truly compete with.
I agree.
That's kind of my viewpoint on that.
All right, cool. Now, kind of just to wrap things up before we get into like some fan questions, what word would you use to describe the LA Galaxy?
I'd say OG, emphasis on G. I think that's the best way to say it.
Love that. Now, I had posted a poll on my Instagram page just to see if there was any fans to see if they wanted to ask you something. I had a friend, Mark Anthony _Fake. He wanted to ask, who do you feel is going to get top 4 in the Euros and top 4 for Copa America, or who are your top 4 for each competition this summer?
Let me pull up the bracket real quick, but Bayer Leverkusen. That's my pick. Euro top or bracket. I looked at it the other day. I watched a couple of the matches, but I just want to make sure I don't want to miss any team. Oh wait, sorry, Euro. Oh, sorry,
Euro. The summer.
Sorry, I was thinking of Europa League. Sorry, Euro. My favorite's Germany. I want to see the hosts win. I also like this current generation with them. The new stars, the Florian Wirtzes, the Musialas. I think this is a sleeping giant. How they were kind of falling apart at the end of the last generation. Not great the last couple World Cups, or really, since they won it. So I think Germany being the host and with this young and hungry generation, I think they're back. They are my favorite for sure. I'm trying to look at the other bracket or just other teams. I think England will probably do well and then choke in like the semis. That's kind of their thing. I also love rooting against England as an American. Who doesn't? Who else do I like in this? I think Hungary could be kind of a bit of a dark horse. Maybe get out of their group. I also, where are they? I want to just make sure they're there. Yeah, one team I would like to see do well, given what's happening with their football federation, is I'd kind of like to see Turkey. I feel like they could be a bit of like a sleeper, not a team that's going to make it that far, but like I'm thinking of who's going to potentially surprise to get out of their group. And like I feel like a team like Turkey, if they could, get their hearts all together, I think they're a team that could really do it, and I don't think they have a hard group either.
I would love to see some prizes in the Euros. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Now, how about for the Copa America?
Copa America, I think one team that's looking really good right now is Colombia.
Oh, that's
I think they're a team that maybe might not win, but I think they're probably going to be a top 4 team in this tournament. I'd like to say the U.S. is, but I don't. I haven't seen enough of us against like comparable competition. And then of course the Argentina, Brazils. They're probably the 2 favorites heading in. I'm not going to pick one over the other, although I do think, given that Brazil left the 2022 World Cup like very disappointed, because they definitely went out a lot earlier than expected. I think they might have the upper edge here. I think they might go into it excited. And I do love Messi, so I'd love to see him lift another one. But I think him getting the World Cup was more important, and
than anything. Yeah,
this is kind of just like a victory lap. A final tour in a way for Argentina, him in Argentina. I don't think, it'd be great if they won, but I don't think that, they're going to be that mad if they don't win,
Especially if they already won it. Like, gotta give the opportunity to someone else.
Yeah, they won it in 2022, 2021. Yeah. Di Maria, I think, scored the goal, right? Yeah.
Now, another fan, Madrigal, he asked, any advice for those who want to be involved in working with MLS?
So in terms of working with MLS, I'm still figuring that out. But in terms of just, making content in general, for me, it's, find your voice, find your perspective, and deliver that in your content at a very consistent basis. Consistency is the biggest thing ever. And, when you see my shorts on, Instagram or TikTok, they're the same format every time. And you build that kind of comfortability factor with your audience when while the topic isn't the same, having the same formula for every video. It might get boring for you sometimes, but it builds that trust with your audience, and it builds that what's the word? Familiarity.
True.
And I think that's important.
Does it help like in an algorithmic boost kind of way when you're posting at the same time and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I try to post at the same times during the day, but it's more just first of all, figure out what the trends are in terms of content and what does well, and apply your voice to that. And in general, there's no really such thing as like blatant copying in this space. Everyone copies each other. It's just that 1%, that I'd say 10%, that 10% of you that you put into something that everyone else is doing, that really differentiates you in a space like this.
Okay, cool. So hopefully someone learned a little bit of something there. And now just a little bit of a fun question. If you had the chance to play for your club, so if you had the chance to play for LA Galaxy and you scored, how would you celebrate?
Ooh, that's a great one. I would probably be a complete spaz if I scored for the Galaxy. I would probably try something really cool. Like, I'd be one of those people that do the knee slides, but then gets caught up and then falls over on their face. That's more realistically what would happen. Because I can't flip or anything. Or I would be one of those cringe people that does, like, when we had like the Paul Pogba dab in FIFA. Like, I would do like whatever the trendy dance is. Like, I'd be fine with that. I also love the ones where they fake the injury and then they like twerk or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
That's my style. I'm the cringe lord. Like, I'll do something like that.
Or about the Christian Pulisic, the giddy, what is it called? Gritty.
Like, I'm not afraid to like embarrass myself. And if you're not afraid to embarrass yourself, then you're not even embarrassing yourself to begin with. But I don't really care about like looking cool. Like, I would have a totally different persona online if I was trying to be cool.
That's true. Now, if you had the chance to be the manager for the LA Galaxy, and you can only field an 11 of like fictional characters, any fictional character that you can think of, who would you start?
Ooh, fictional character. That's a good one. Let's see. You know what? This one just came into my mind for no reason, but in goal, I would have Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob.
Because he's huge, or what?
Dude, yeah, he's got that chest. I would actually, no, he'd be a center back. I think he'd be a great center back. I think, ooh, that's a tough one. I'm trying to think of like who I liked growing up as a little kid. I would love like a Danny Phantom as a winger.
Oh yeah,
disappearing, appearing, going quick. Like I would love something like that. Ooh, this is good. I'm trying to think of other childhood shows that I used to watch. Sorry if I'm coming up with boring answers.
No, those are good. I wouldn't even have thought of that. I would have thought like Avengers or something.
Yeah, superheroes are cool. I'm like not even a huge anime guy, but I did watch, like a little bit of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I think JoJo or Jotaro, who's one of the JoJos, he'd be like lit. He was just like this, he was buff and he could kind of do everything. But I'm not like a big anime guy, so I'm not gonna try to nerd out about that. But yeah, I think those are guys I would have. I would love, if I could have, versions of pro athletes that play other sports be soccer players and have them be like that level of greatness, but for soccer. One would definitely be, MJ. I'm a huge Jordan guy. And if he were, the great, if his skills were translated into soccer, he'd be like the number one guy I'd have.
Or would you put
like MJ? That's a good one. Where would MJ be? Would it be boring to call him a striker? Probably.
Nah, I think he'd fit as striker. He's a killer.
Yeah, he is a killer. He's a stone cold killer for sure. Yeah, it's so funny now that I think of it. I feel like I don't watch a lot of fictional stuff anymore, so I'm like blanking out on a lot of things. Oh! Put Chewbacca as a center back for me. Chewbacca from Star Wars,
Yeah,
bro. Nothing's getting by him. He's absolutely
we
my
destroy everybody.
him and Larry the Lobster at center back together.
I'd be scared to come up against them.
No one's getting past us, bro.
How about at goalie? Who would you put at goalie?
Trying to think of who's like super stretchy. Oh, Elastigirl from The Incredibles.
Oh yeah, dude, she'll get to everything.
Yeah, dude, that's my queen right there. That's definitely who I would pick at goalkeeper. Just at the second the ball goes there, arm just extends. Yeah, Elastigirl. Yeah, put her in. She's my
Now
captain.
the brain of the midfield, the number 6, that number 6 position. Who would you put right there?
Ooh, the brain of the operation. You know what? I mean, I don't think he's a good athlete, but when I think of brain, I think of Jimmy Neutron, and he'll find a way to be like him.
To be like the best number 6, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like if he's the brain of the operation, or he'd be the coach, he'd be the manager. He wouldn't be on the field, but he'd be like if I were the coach, I'd be like the fake head coach. I'd be like the Ted Lasso to the Nate. Nate the Great would be Jimmy Neutron for me. Ooh, who'd be a good stop? They gotta be a good stopper too. Johnny Bravo.
Oh yeah,
he's not really a brain, but like he could get the job done. I'm thinking of like big buff guys for some reason, but he'd be great. Yeah, I'm clueless right now. Sorry about that.
no, it's all good, bro. It's just for fun, pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, the very last question, another fun one. With Coachella coming up this weekend, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and we're locals, so we have it at our disposal right here. I don't know if you're gonna go at some time.
But yeah.
Who is your favorite music artist that you need to see before, like at least once in your lifetime?
All right. Are we going to talk about artists that I have seen? Because I have seen all my favorite artists. Or should we do artists that I have not seen?
Okay, yeah, artists that you've not seen, and then you can mention your favorite one that you've seen.
Yeah, so the biggest one that, I wouldn't say he's my favorite artist, but someone I just feel like I need to see live in my lifetime is Bruce Springsteen, who's a old rocker from the 70s. He's like my mom's favorite artist, and she's always raved about his concerts, and I feel like I need to see one before he retires. Who else would I love to see? Ooh, I wish I could have seen like the Beatles in their prime.
Oh yeah,
back in the day. I wouldn't. I mean, 2 of them are dead, but I wouldn't want to see them now necessarily. But let's see. I've actually never seen Drake live.
Yeah, me neither.
I would love to see Drake live.
Even though he's been here like a few times already.
Yeah, he's always in LA. I never make it to his shows. But out of like a artist from that realm, I want to see Bruno Mars. He's coming to Intuit Dome this year. I've never seen him. He just like good vibes. I like good vibe music too. I would have loved to see the band Sublime in their like when their singer was alive.
They're gonna be at Coachella. I mean, the singer is.
Yeah. But I would have loved to see if I could like choose any band to see like with their original members, it would have been them. But then my favorite band is Blink 182, which I've seen them like 1,000 times. So I wouldn't say like they're my like dream. They'd be if I made a dream like concert lineup. Of course they'll be there, but I've seen them so many times, so it's not like a oh my god, like I need to see them. But yeah, I think that's where I go. I'm more of a rock guy in general. So bands in that realm, especially from the 90s to like 2005-ish. That's kind of like my sweet spot for music I listen to.
Did you listen to Guns N' Roses growing up a lot too?
A little bit. I did know about them a lot. I mean they have some classics. Oh, actually, one group that I wish I could have seen, and I know one of their members have died. And this is not a rock group, but a Tribe Called Quest. If I could have seen them like when they were coming up in that time period, like I really wish that I was this age or maybe a bit younger in like the 90s, so I could have witnessed all of this happen. It sucks that I can't even call myself a 90s kid because I was born in 2000. But
same, bro.
Yeah, It's tough because I feel like everything I like is from the 90s.
I get you. Yeah, me too. I've always told myself, like, if I were to have been born in the generation I could pick it, I probably would have liked to been born like that late, like early or mid 80s, kind of late 80s going into the 90s vibe, because
Oh yeah,
that's like my vibe right there.
100%.
But anyways, thank you so much, Eli. I really appreciate you taking your time out of the day, like, to come hop on the podcast.
Sure.
Everybody, make sure to follow Eli. He's an amazing human being. Follow him right there, Eli Lesser TV, if you see that. And make sure to follow us at Chatala Football. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much, Eli. I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.